All right, hey guys, welcome back to UnitedKingdom channel, and I hope everybody is having a great trading week. And I just want to do a quick trade recap on one of the trades that we did take here in UnitedKingdom VIP members Discord and Telegram service on Euro AUD. As you can see, the chart that I do have pulled up here, and I'm praying to God that my camera is recording right now, because last time I had an issue with the camera and the recording that's recording me actually stopped, and yeah, I had to redo that video and I ended up not doing it because I didn't want to waste my time. But yeah, getting back into this, right? So this is just a quick trade recap on your AUD. What was my thought process in going into it, and how did I actually place the trade or come about to placing it? As you can see here, this is a trade that ran for approximately a 1 to 6.4 RR, right? So you risked 1% to make a 6% return. I was pretty good, was pretty great overall. And I'm just gonna dive into what was my expectations for this and how it came about. And to just a quick brief summary of what I do and in terms of my trading strategy and stuff for myself. I do trade technicals as well as fundamentals. So a large part of my trading has to deal with fundamental analysis, right? And that is taking a look at what's going on around on the global economic scales, what sort of news we have coming out that may affect price action. All right. And this was one of the key things for us here today. So I just want to do a quick look back at last week in terms of the AUD, and really the AUD is what I'm focusing on and why this trade was so successful, because it did come from that AUD weakness. All right, so you can see here we had a stream of data on the Tuesday for July 25th for the AUD, right? And we can actually go into more, and we'll actually, take a scroll all the way to the present. We can see here some of the news factors that we did have was inflation rate year-to-year comparison for second quarter, actually going down from the previous being 7% to around 6% this time. And we also had CPI numbers coming down here at 133.7. And you can see all of these are highlighted red, basically showing an overall bearish or negative tone. All right. And as we scroll down, you actually see, all right, so retail sales month over month, that is something else again. A whole 10% difference from the positive being 0.8% to now being negative 0.8%. And just taking an overall generalized look, that is what we had for the AD thus far, right? And today, or should I say earlier this morning at 12:30 a.m., right? And that will be Eastern time. What we had was RBA interest rate decision, right? So we had the RBA interest rates, and one of the things that we were expecting, or at least I should say I was expecting, was to see that interest rates actually come out lesser than what was the previous consensus, right? So what was the previous tally for what sort of interest rates we could expect, right? I assume, or rather, given the fundamental analysis and the fundamental data that we did have thus far for the AED dollar, right? We could have summarized that, all right, at this point, the RBA, which is the federal bank for the Aussie dollar or for the Australian economy, are not going to hike rates at this time, because at the point of the current point, those economic factors that they do pay attention to aren't in line with what they want to see in order to raise interest rates at this point in time. All right, because that would in turn increase the struggle on the economy currently, right? So inflation is coming down, which is good. However, in terms of an investment perspective, that means that overall we could expect the interest rates to decrease or just not actually move from the previous, or to the consensus that we currently do have, which would have been 4.35% here, right? A total of a 25 base point increase. Now, this is something that, again, you would get in time when you do start focusing on fundamentals, if you do factor fundamentals into your trading, incorporate it. However, right now, ideally, I would say usually in times of news, especially people that would have been taking a look at this and they will just see the number, right? They'll see the consensus show 4.3%, an increase from the previous, and they will go into buys or longs for the AUD dollar, right? And you can see where that would have played against you or against your favor, because you didn't have a fundamental analysis as to, okay, what exactly does the RBA look at in terms of increasing their interest rates? If you're going to increase interest rates, there needs to be some economic factors that align in order for you to do so, because that's how you run an economy. You just can't increase rates, putting more pressure on stuff like loan borrowing and stuff like that consumers will have to pay back. Sorry, something in my eye. Right? You just can't do that on a whim or anything like that. So, with that being in mind, at the point of time, we were expecting to see interest rates remain the same, show no change or lesser than the previously expected, which would have been the consensus here. So, how did that relate on the chart, or how did that specifically, how did we enter on the trade here? So, taking a look at the current point of time, right? So, I'm just gonna put this back into the replay mode. All right. So the Euro 80 was up at this high right here. We noted that this was a daily high or area of significance, right, at that point. And at that point, we started seeing price pulling back. Now, in any healthy trend, and this would have been an area where the average retail trader would have buying into the 80 or buying into a Euro sell on this particular pair. However, it's important to note that in any healthy trend or, sort of movement that we do have, right, whether it's the upside or the downside, there would be pullbacks. All right. So that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a shift in momentum or a shift in the price action, but rather this is just something that you usually see within markets. So we noted one of two things, right? As price pulls back, we're going to look at this area right here and taking a look from the 4-hour level. You can see why this area is important. So price pushed up from this area here. We had this bullish candle. Price pulled back, rejected once and twice here on the 4-hourly, making this an area of significance that we could mark and pulled up to the high right here. All right, so as price pulled back into this area, I was like, okay, I'm going to look to see if we're going to see some sort of rejections in order for price to continue moving up in favor of the euro. All right, this being one of the larger frames that we are looking at this point and even higher right here, because overall, when you do run into areas of resistance, obviously you're going to see some sort of pushback, or you need to have some sort of catalyst in order to move past that area. Rather, if it's a trending upward sort of market dynamic that you are working with or that you are trading within, then there needs to be some sort of catalyst in order to break those previous highs or those levels that price would revisit, right? Vice versa, if it was a sell or a bearish market, obviously there needs to be some sort of catalyst for price to push below that foundation, right? So that's what you will call a support. And at this point, okay, noted price come back here. We want to see some sort of rejection. We want to see price maintain this level and then continue moving up. Now this is approaching, coming closer towards the actual the actual interest rate decision. Now again, keeping in mind that interest rates was going to remain the same, more than likely was going to remain the same. There wasn't going to be no increase. We didn't want to jump too early on this and wait for the perfect time when we could have gotten into that trade. Right, so price pulled back here, and as you can see, we started pulling back even more, continuing with this downtrending movement, right? Now, as we broke and we came back into this area right here, which was the initial part where we get into the trade, right? There's a few things that you want to note here on the 4-hourly and the 1 hour. One was price revisit back into this area, right? So as price revisit this area, we saw that this was the area where price initially break out of. We had that bullish forwardly candle pushing up, and now we have this revisit right here, right? So this is like entering an area of support where we could see buyers, if going with the current market direction and analysis and the expectations for interest rates to remain the same, we will see buyers actually step into the market at this point, or this would be a favorable level for buyers, right? So we noted that, all right, price came into here, we failed to break lower, we started forming this bullish candle here, price started dancing within this area, and at that point, I took the buy position right around here, right? And this was approaching closer towards the interest rate decision for the RBA. Now, to take a look here within the VIP, as you could see, just scrolling up. All right, so right, this was the 80, Euro 80 buy. And you can see these are the levels, so nothing was changed, nothing was edited or anything like that. So this was the area where we entered that buy as price pulled back into this area. We formed that bullish candle. looking to see, all right, this is going to be where price is going to consolidate or squeeze before we have the actual numbers coming out, right? And these movement that we saw initially was like the anticipation build up of actually seeing interest rates increase. So one of two things could have happened at that point. If price did come out, sorry, if interest rates did come out at the 4.35%, right? At that point, the move was already made, right? Markets already predetermined that move down to the downside here. And at that point, we've gotten a bullish push from this area, in any ways, right? Because the market's already made that predetermined move. So if it came out as expected, then at that point it's like whatever, we already moved. So now price is just gonna do a sort of a pullback to the upside. And this is something that you'll see time and time again if you actually took a look at interest rate decisions when they come out, if price made movements before that in favor of whatever currency you are looking at. Usually at the time when the interest rates numbers do come out, you do see some sort of reversal pattern. All right. So that was the first thing. The second thing, knowing that interest rates was going to actually remain the same, right, and showing no change, at that point, it just gives us a double build, right, a foundation to double build on and continue seeing price moving even further higher, even past this area right here, which is the trade that we're currently in. Now, this was where we entered, and I also did have a GJ and AJ sell stop. Sorry. So that was deleted. And yeah, we put the stops at break even. And you can see price actually pushed up as we had the interest rates number coming out. So at that point, right, we entered a favorable area. We saw that price pull down, wicked up. And at that point, at this, we could expect to see price moving higher. Right here, you see price pull down, boom, pulled up, and we continue moving up into this morning where we currently sit at. So this was a 6.4% winner right here. And now price is currently moving a little bit higher on the day. So this was sort of like what went into this trading idea and process, right? It may be hard to grasp if you're new to trading. It's honestly not a hard concept in order to understand. But it is reasonably so to think that it would be something a little bit challenging for you now to, get and really rationalize and everything. But I would say that trading with fundamental analysis does help you make better informed decisions on whether you should enter a trade or not, especially if you just take an overall general look at the fundamentals that you do have coming out. You'll be able to tell whether, okay, is this a trade that you should get in now? Is volume, are you going to expect volume right at this specific time, and you could maybe get wicked out on a trade and then it continues in your favor, so maybe you should enter after the news comes out. And for a lot of funding companies, well, at least at the point of time before, so this would have been like last year, from 2020 to 2022, right, early 2022, a lot of companies, one such as FTMO, they didn't allow trading during news events, right? And that was because this was an issue that a lot of traders found themselves, basically coming in contact with and not being informed about fundamentals. And when they have news events impacting your trading, especially if you're just a technical trader, they'll have you doubting sometimes on your trading strategy. So I would say it's always good and important to note when you do have high impactful news, especially for heavily traded currencies like the US dollar, because sometimes that could lead into volume and volatility. And if you do get stopped out of a trade multiple times because it's news and you have no idea of it, it could lead you to having, self-doubts about your strategy and what you're doing and stuff like that. All right. But yeah, this is the trade idea. This was the setup. This was the play out. Pretty nice, pretty good thus far. So yeah, we currently have this one running. If this does move into our direction, that's another 4%. The aim for this week was really 5%, which we actually achieved. So if we're able to stack up on that a little bit, that's great in any case, right, guys? So thank you very much. I will see you guys in the next one for the London session Wednesday morning. But yeah, this is it. I do hope that everybody has a great week, and feel free to leave a like, subscribe, share, so you'll always be informed as to when I do post videos like this, during actual chart analysis and the actual things that matter in trading, right? And I cannot stress this enough for a lot of new traders. Why I really dislike and something I would never do is show off profits, show off you know cars or luxurious lifestyle living and stuff like that. That a lot of influencers use in order to like influence people or like gather people towards their videos and stuff like that. These videos that I do make and content that I would be posted on YouTube is for people really about the trading itself. And obviously, if you have a good trading strategy and you actually are profitable, then all of that other stuff would come in time, right? But this is what matters. This is what's making you money. This is what's important, not the lifestyle living of a trader, right? So that's it that I have for you guys right now. Thank you very much. I want to do this real quick because I probably wouldn't do it if not now. Yeah, so that's it. Peace.